Hi, I'm here with Pastor Davana. And Pastor Davana, you want to say hello?
Hello, everybody.
We're talking about At Home Church, one of our newest church plants here in the Shenandoah district. And why don't you just give us a heads up on what the vision is, what you're doing, and how things have been going? Because you've only really been going for the last month or two, right?
Yeah, like with regular meetings, pretty much, and inviting people, I guess, might be the kicker that's happened in the last month or two. So what has, kind of what the heart of it is really is about, honestly, discipleship. And we really feel like if we do discipleship, evangelism will follow. Is kind of the way that we're kind of approaching it. Not a unique thing, right? Like other churches are doing discipleship as well. But we just really found that the micro church model allowed for us to do really deeply connected, highly relational discipleship with those who are part of us, both physically in our gatherings, as well as even digitally, as we are just trying to find really the keys to unlock really that digital platform in a way that is still very highly relational. And so, like I said, we found the microchurch model to be really what worked for us as far as being able to accomplish those things. Again, we still are working on putting sermons out and doing all those things, like what some people might call a traditional church. But we're having a really good time. And what we're seeing is, even though it's slow, and that's actually kind of good for us because we can only manage so many people in our gatherings, and that's the way it's intended to be. But we're seeing people really highly interested in doing church differently. Nothing wrong with the traditional model at all, but you just have a pocket of people out there who are just looking for something different. And so we're finding that through the microchurch model, we're able to not only just be different, but even take the church to them where they are. And that is really important, I think, right now in the state of our culture.
Right. I was even going through this audiobook last week talking about the importance of meeting people where they're at in their context. And it was talking about conflict resolution. Written by a guy who was Jewish, had nothing to do with Jesus, had nothing to do with anything else with the church. He was just talking about conflict resolution. But he was saying you've got to realize it's more than just one culture in another culture. Everybody is bringing their own background. Everybody's bringing their own baggage. Everybody's bringing their own hopes, their own dreams, all this stuff into a situation. And when I was thinking about it in the context of churches, if you have a church of 100, 500,000, 10,000, and the main focus is meeting on Sunday mornings and doing everything on Sunday morning, which I'm not saying is right or wrong, but I think COVID has helped a lot of people reevaluate the kind of silver bullet, one shot across the bow to everybody kind of concept. And I was thinking, especially because I knew we had this conversation coming up, especially with you and what you're doing. And the focus is not to change the gospel for each person, but to connect with each person in their context, on their level, with their backgrounds, and present the gospel in a way that's understandable to them. So that way it's individualized, but it's still to everyone. And there's really not a good way to do that with a megaphone, or a pulpit, but you can do that at a kitchen table. You can do it in a living room. You can do it at a backyard barbecue. And one of the things I really like about what you're doing and setting up for is to even equip the pastors that are and the lay leaders that are going to be kind of running these micro churches by providing messages, high quality, high video resolution, audio, all that stuff, messages for them to help facilitate. If they don't feel like they're a good preacher, communicator, evangelist, but maybe they're a good pastor and shepherd. And I just love that you're going to the goal, at least as I understand it, is to help support the local leaders by maximizing their strengths, and an area that may not be a strength, that's where you come in and you help them out. Can you speak to that a little bit more? Even the video component, I know that hasn't really started yet, but let us know what the vision of that is.
Yeah. So, like you said, we're still working through some of the kinks because, a lot of these fresh expressions, they don't have a specific, there's not a box and then everybody goes into the box and does exactly the same thing. So because it is so highly relational based on the context of who you're serving, you kind of adjust things for what it needs to be. So for us, we're finding that the virtual part is still really important. And that's one way we can get trainings across, and just running through, even like on Zoom meetings, right? So what do those look like if you were conducting those in a discipleship sort of way, and getting people in the feel of what it's like to facilitate a communication, just even a meeting and communicating with people you are leading and discipling and mentoring. And we find that people have a huge heart for that, but their skill level really is what is lacking. And so we're trying to think through really what kind of training would people need to, have their skill level sort of match their heart, and things like that. We have people today who have a huge passion for leading people, but aren't comfortable praying out loud. And those are just little skills that the church has just maybe taken for granted, that we haven't realized that we have taken the pressure off of people not to pray. And yet people want to hear you pray for them if you're leading them. And so those little skills, and I like to call them like the tools that we put in our ministry backpack, even just finding with each leader, what is it that you need? What is it that you feel like you're not comfortable doing, and that you would need help in order to really kind of to disciple someone else. And so we're just trying to kind of collect those things and then make those resources available, and not just in a way that you have to be here in the room with us, but how can we do that in a virtual way as well, so that anyone could go and say, I just need to brush up on this thing. And then there would be some training available for that, for those who are leading. And that's really the goal of At Home. Like you mentioned, primarily our microchurch here out of our house, its goal is primarily to raise up other microchurch leaders. And from here, and being raised up with and among us, and within our own home and part of our lives, then the hope is they go to whatever God is calling them to do in whatever context, to whatever people, and that they're doing the same thing with others, and so that it doesn't end all be all with us, but it continues to move and multiply, as God will see fit.
Yeah, I don't know if I really clarified that or set that up, but you're really launching At Home and the network at the same time.
Right.
And they look very similar because it's still your home right now.
Right.
But over time, the network will get kind of bigger and oversee everything. And I think that's one, it's very smart, but it's also beautiful that a lot of pastors will go into planting with the hopes, with the goals of planting another church. And I know the statistic is out there. Dr. Ed Love would tell me all the time, if it doesn't happen within 3 years, it's probably not going to happen with that church. And I know a lot of churches still that would call themselves church plants 5 years, 10 years, 15 years later that haven't planted a church still want to. And so I think that hope is always there. But I like that that's your metric, like that. Yeah. It's a measuring stick of not how many services have we done, how many sermon videos have we produced. It's how many leaders have we raised up, help them discover their calling, help them discover their purpose, help them help other people discover their calling and their purpose. And I think that's beautiful. And I think that's an appropriate measuring stick for success for everybody, but starting out with the end in mind is great.
Yeah, I got some new language after we had done our roundtable really with exponential, and it kind of hit me. I was like, that's what we're doing. It's planting at a level 5. Just skip 1, 2, 3, and 4, plant at a level 5. But that's hard to do in other traditional models. When you have big buildings, you have big salaries, you have programs, you have all of these things. People need, love, and want that. So that's not something I'm, would say don't do. But just for us, we had the luxury to plant whatever we wanted to plant. And so we really felt God just saying, hey, plant this thing that multiplies from the beginning, and let go of it from the beginning instead of trying to, maybe even, I said, if I still have 2 people coming here that I'm leading to raise up, we still have at home. 2 members is great for me, if that's what's happening currently, because maybe I've sent out 5. And so we have to get used to the fact that what we're doing even here will be fluctuating. And that's the purpose, to bring people in and send people out. And so with setting up the model that way, I think that is, it leans more towards that being open-handed, for multiplication, really.
Can we shift gears real quick and go back? And a lot of people know you from Reclaim, and they know Pastor Corey. We love y'all and are always, at least I am always glad to see y'all. And they're usually like together in some little, the West Virginia cohort coming up and holding court and all that stuff. Can you just give me a little bit, and give maybe the rest of the people in Shenandoah a little bit of your relationship currently, but maybe start out like, what was your relationship with Reclaim? And I'll be honest, I don't know if you came up through Reclaim, if you any of that stuff. Just give us a little origin story that brought you to planting.
Okay. So if I go way back, I did not grow up in the Wesleyan church, did not grow up even really believing that women could or should be pastors. And so during my process, I was really called into becoming a pastor right around 2013. Well, not a pastor, but just called into the ministry at 2013. In a church and a denomination that didn't really believe in that and wasn't going to support that. And so God really led me actually to Indiana Wesleyan for some education I was seeking. Just happened to have this conversation with this amazing admissions person who was like, hey, we totally believe in women in ministry. And, he gave me some backstory on it, which got me thinking like, well, I don't even know anything about the Wesleyans. So did a little bit of, research on my own, and then got in connection with, Greg here, like for the Shenandoah district. And then he sort of put me in line with Christian, who then connected me with Corey. And so I started going to Corey's church, really more so just kind of to educate myself on, he invited me, hey, come by, see what we're about, that kind of thing. And so with that, he and Greg and Pastor Shin, they all sort of gave me that freedom to explore what my calling was. And with that, just became sort of obvious that I really wanted to work with Reclaim and to like be part of what they were doing. And so Corey graciously invited me to come and be part of their staff. Even as, I knew I was called, but still trying to figure out called to what kind of thing. And so, he's I call him a hero maker for sure. And so, he was just really great with allowing me to explore that calling and to give me opportunities to hear and be part of things. And so I served on their staff for almost 3 years, just doing whatever. It started out as a family minister, which that just seemed like a title I may have picked out of the air because that felt comfortable, but then really feeling like called to do more, called to lead, called to plant. And so became a resident with the greenhouse through the local Reclaim church there.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was for a year. and through COVID, which was a great time to be a resident somewhere, I guess. And then through that, just then really having my own relationship with the district and with others as needing to go out and to plant. And he's really been gracious at that. You know, a lot of people could say, hey, she's pretty good at what she does. Let's keep her here and have her do something for us. But he felt that it was best for at home and for what we were doing to let it be autonomous and not have it be something under reclaim. And so with that freedom, it's really, you know, had its birth to grow. So yes, connected to Corey, always still available for whatever they need, but we are autonomous from that work particularly.
Awesome. And I think that really does set up at home, but also sets a good example and a precedent for you. I mean, because Reclaim didn't hold on to you tightly, although maybe they should have, because you're so good, right?
Well,
But
I'm not that far away, so if they need me, they know where to find me.
that's part of leadership, is when you steward it with an open hand, and you steward people with an open hand. And that's hard for some of us, because maybe we've done that in the past, and it's come back and bit us in a wrong way. And so I think that's tremendous example, but it's also a tremendous responsibility for you and your leaders as well to do the same. As we wrap up, why don't you give us something that we can be praying for you specifically for, and then for At Home Church and Network as well?
Yeah, I think just praying for me specifically is still just walking this thing out with, I like to say I'm trying to get my arms around it and feel the edges of it. You know, I'm not sure exactly what I'm holding yet. So it just helped me to try to still figure that out, hone it, not try to shape it so much as really just trying to understand what it is God is wanting to be done through At Home. And so just continue to pray for that I'll continue to be patient on my own side too, as well, and not like go, oh, this is a great idea, let's just do that. You know, great ideas are good, but I want what God thinks is best. And so just putting the brakes on some things for me is not easy. And so just help me continue to pray that I'll walk in his timing and in his will of what he would want this to be. What was your second question? I totally was focused on
The At Home Network and church as a whole.
As a whole, I think just continue to pray that those people who are feeling led and called to be what I like to call neighborhood pastors, and so called to their neighborhoods, called to the people that they're with, that they'll find their way here and find a place here, and that we can encourage them and raise them up, equip them, and send them out, commission them to go do all the things that God is calling upon their lives for them to do. And so, you know, we just are putting a little bit of a beacon light out there. And so hopefully people will see it and be drawn to what we're doing and want to come and be part of it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Pastor. And we'll do these things every now and then. We're going to check in with you every now and then. We want to get some updates, and we'll do this around the district as well from some other people. So again, thank you so much, and we'll be seeing you around.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to add just one thing, especially if you're putting this out in the district. Look, I am open to conversation. If anybody is feeling called to do micro churches or to figure out what it would be like to do a micro church network, call me. Let's get together and let's see what God will have for you and where you're at. I would love that.
Awesome. And we'll put your contact information, not all of it, but we'll put your professional contact information in the comments below as well. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Thanks, Tim. Bye.